Testing out the microphone, talking about the frame, seeing how the focus works. This is more of a spiritual practice than a science. This is gonna be crazy. Things just got crazy. Exciting day over here. Finally got my hands on the endless slalom frame. Check this thing out. It's got bridges, ridges, bumps, curves, flares, flanges. Yeah, it's the smallest frame I've ever held, I think, for any type of skating. This is the shallowest height of any frame that I've felt. This is a Trinity mount version, and this has the rockerable axles on the front and rear, so I can do this with a normal endless rocker, the balanced rocker, or I can move them to the up position where that's a slalom rocker, up and in. And it just so happened that I had wheels already from an endless arc setup, 76 millimeter, 84 millimeter. So that's going to replace this endless 90 LR frame, which has served me very well and will continue to serve me well, I'm sure. But as of now, I've been getting into kind of a dancey style of skating, and this slalom frame was very appealing to me because it just has more rocker. And I can talk about why that matters while I swap out the bearings, wheels, and frames on this Power Slide Doops skate. I think this will also be a nice opportunity to talk about the Doop itself, because I'll be keeping my hands busy and I need to have something to talk about. But I'll talk about the slalom frames first and what that sort of represents. And so I think a lot of people would refer to me as a wizard skater. It's how I call myself as well. But one of the directions I've been researching / exploring into is kind of improvised full body integrated movement, aka dancing on skates. And you may know that I'm not a huge fan of cones. That's just like not my typical bliss, not my MO, I guess I would say. And I see them as a useful tool for, learning rhythm and the distance required to perform certain movements. But I don't see it as like my end goal. My end goal is quite a bit different, which is to move freely and not really concern myself with the space that I take up. My thought is that now I have a frame off, so I can kind of talk about it a little bit more. The length difference of these frames when they're matched up on the end down here at the bottom is drastic. Like, we're talking 3 centimeters, 1.5 inches, like huge difference in frame length and huge difference in rocker amount. This frame is a balanced rocker, and it's great for cruising, and it's great for doing some swivels and wizard type movements. But it's definitely, even though it's a fairly short frame for me, it's a frame that it's not quite as agile as I would like it to be. There's a trade-off when you have a very pronounced rocker, like on the slalom frame. Cruising around is not very efficient. So this blue frame has proven to be very efficient. It's the normal endless balance rocker. And I've noticed that when I had really worn out wheels, I had that dancey feeling. And when I put on newer wheels, I kind of lost it. So my thinking here is that if I have the slalom frame, I'll be able to switch back and forth between cruising around and dancing as 2 different modes of the frame. So yeah, that's the idea of switching to this slalom frame. I also like that the wheels are of a mixed size, which to me just screams of efficiency and just kind of a smart way of utilizing the Trinity I guess, benefits. And as I pull this second frame off, I can talk about those benefits. So obviously Trinity has 3 holes, 2 in the front that are offset and 1 in the back. And the overall shape of it is that the heel is much higher and the front mounts are lower. What happens with the Trinity mount, or really with any skate, is there's this thick area where you screw your frame into some piece of hardware. In this case, these are like these removable little pieces of hardware, and they drop into some slots on the dupe here that are designed to hold the receiver. So you have this silver piece in here, you can kind of see that, and it slides back and forth. And that hardware takes up vertical space. So if you can move that hardware off to the side of the wheels, then that hardware is not between you and the wheels. Technically, the wheels can go right up to the bottom of your foot, and the hardware is off to the sides. I brought this out here for comparison. This is a normal 165 classic mount, 90 millimeter endless frame. And although these wheels are worn, you can imagine that when they're new, they sit at the height of the frame mounting surface. And then all of this sort of receiving hardware sits above the frame, in between you and the wheels. So the super sick thing, you know, I'm reiterating this for people just so they remember. Although, like, basically what we're doing is we're moving the hardware that would be between you and the wheel and scooching it off to the side so the wheel can come up. And it's very visible on the dupe skates. I find it fascinating. There's this this hole here, this oval, where a wheel can literally come right up and touch your shoe effectively. And when you set these up stock with the 3x100, that's how it works. The front wheel is visible through the top of the skate, which is crazy. This is kind of the most mind-blowing thing about the dupe, is how modular it is. Obviously this piece comes off really easily, and one thing you might not expect is that this whole assembly just slides apart super easily. The only thing that holds this whole cuff wrap assembly in place is the rear frame mount that comes up through the bottom of the base plate and screws into the threaded holes in the bottom of the cuff. So you get one screw holding your whole skate together basically, and the other 2 screws are mounting the frame to the front of the skate. So it's kind of crazy. There's a slot here, and you just kind of slide the cuff, if you can line it up right, slide it into position. And I made a note of how far forward the cuff was, because I recently pulled it forward a little bit, and you can just tune that super easily. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a long slot in the heel, and you have multiple options to screw into there. So the dupe is pretty crazy. This is from the USD Shadow Dustin Latimer skate, this cuff, as is the tongue piece and the strap. And this little carry strap is from when it was a dupe. And then the toe strap, which may be visible, is an integrated part of the overall assembly. This metal sticks out, and then this strap attaches to that. So I do worry that these metal pieces could eventually break, but I gotta just kind of live my life and just keep on moving. So I have covered topics of the dupe, topics of Trinity, and I think it's time to get these bearings pulled. And maybe I'll spare you. Oh man. The excitement of me pulling them all out might not be the most fun thing. All right, fast forward. So I got the wheels put into one of the frames, took a few photos, and now it's time to get the frame mounted up to the boot. So Trinity is specific in terms of the offset angle here. So I'm looking at a left side here. So that should fit right on there. And yeah, now I'm gonna mount it up. And as you saw, the hardware is fully removable, so it is a bit of a task. I might have to focus a little bit on it, but yeah, I'm gonna do the one without the wheels in it first. It might be a little easier. One of the things I'm looking forward to about the Trinity version of this frame versus the 165 is that on the Trinity frames, since they are not symmetric, the Trinity frames are symmetrical, they're not all the same frame, whereas like a 165 or a UFS frame can be all right-hand frames or left-hand frames. Basically what I mean is on the Trinity frame, you always have access to the axles on the inside of the boot, which is more ergonomic, I guess, when you're sitting around tinkering with your skates. Like when I look down at this left frame, the screw holes are accessible, and on the right side, the screw holes are accessible. Whereas with the 165 frames, the screws are always on the right-hand side, so whichever way. And it's hard to get to, like, get your foot in the right spot to, like, get the axles on your right foot. At least that's my experience. So, nice thing about Trinity is the screws are always accessible, if that's something you care about. I don't know, it's important to me. And I think the first setup I'm gonna do is the balanced rocker, which is one of the two settings. And it's the more stable setting so that I get used to the length of this frame. It's quite short. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I assume it's pretty similar to a 4x80. Probably around 245 millimeters, 243 millimeters, something like that. And I'm just not used to that. So I'll start off with the default rocker that I'm used to from these blue frames and that other 165 frame. And then, as I mentioned, the access to the screw holes is always on the inside. So when I'm at the spot, I want to switch to the Slalom rocker. It's super easy because the bolts are really accessible. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I'm feeling about it. So this is more of a spiritual practice than a science, getting frames centered on the Doop, because there's no real frame of reference. My shoe's not in it. I don't really know where everything's gonna line up. I noticed that I could line up a certain thing right there, and the frame seems to like that. I'll match the other side to be the same and then be done. Oh, I can't wait to skate these. This is gonna be crazy. All right, y'all, I finished them. Check these things out. Is that crazy looking or what? I mean, every aspect of this looks like it was designed for the Doop, and I think this might be the perfect frame for this skating shoe apparatus, because one of the things I always say is the supportiveness of the boot needs to match the overall size and leverage of the frame. This is going to be one of the lowest leverage frames because of its wheelbase and amount of rocker that it has. It's just not going to put a lot of load back into the skate that I'm going to have to control. Whereas a 4x90, or when I set this up with 3x100, there's a lot more leverage being transferred between the ground and my body, and it's hard to control that and manipulate that amount of force and pressure that the wheels and frame are causing with such a boot with so little contact with my body. So the toe strap's really good at, giving you control over the edge, but in terms of overall control of the direction, this cuff doesn't do an amazing job, and then you don't have anything right through here. You just basically have this strap here. So I think this will be a nice match. The power and sort of like lack of power, I guess, and supportiveness of the shell will match with the agility of the frames and wheels. That's my hope. I'm going to strap these on, head out, skate them around a little bit and test them in the balance rocker, do a few swivels, stuff that I know how to do, and then going to get crazy, swap to the slalom rocker while I'm out there and see how it changes and record my reactions in the moment. Let's do it. Okay, immediate first impressions are that this feels insane. It feels so incredibly familiar with the balanced rocker setting, and it makes perfect sense. That's what I've been skating for years at this point, and it feels like the similar geometry to the 4x90, but I'm lower. I can feel that I'm lower, and when I tilt the frame, oh my gosh, it tilts a little more easily. Like, I don't feel the same kind of leverage I was talking about with the 90, where it kind of flops over when I go on the edge. Especially with these boots, which are not very supportive. These feel perfect, just as I was saying, just like I knew. And because they're 84s and not 80s, they roll over stuff really easily, like some of the cracks I was going over, chunky sections. Like, it's crazy how good these are going to be for everything that I do. There's just less attached to me. I can feel there's just so much less, and it's all co-located with my feet instead of the 90s being longer. Yeah, of course they're going to be faster, but this is super sweet. I'm going to do a few swivels at this, my classic, in the true spirit of a vlog. I'm going to stay mic'd up the whole time as well. So you can, oh my goodness. This balance rocker is everything I know and love, and it's so easy. Now I wonder, is it easy because they're small and underfoot, or because I'm used to it? Or, third option, because these frames feel stiff as hell. There's absolutely no feeling of wheels lifting. Like, sometimes on a bigger wheel frame, there's a feeling of unpredictability just because it's deflecting slightly, and a wheel might be hitting one of these small stones on the ground, lifting up. The feeling of these is that the frame just drives through the surface with total control. I guess I could try a few lion tricks, like let's try 540 open. Okay, I can feel the fresh wheels sticking, as you might imagine. I'll try a closed lion. Okay, lift it a little bit. There's a lot of power coming from these. They are transferring all of my energy I just feel like I'm not losing any energy from these. I'm also a sucker for a brand new wheel, and these are very brand new. Kind of thinking before I get too into this mode, I'm gonna switch them to slalom and see how crazy that feels. I'm so excited. Let's go. Okay, so far this test is going really well, and I'm curious to see how hard this process is gonna be. So, like I said before, the axle head is accessible on the inside, so then I just have to unscrew it enough, not all the way, to push it through and let it flip around. Oh, I have to be able to see it though. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Can't see it. Flip it around, and it should drop into its other position. Okay, so now the dot has gone from the down position to the up position, which means the wheel has retracted in. It's hecka close to the boot now, which is cool, but it is not touching as far as I can tell. So that's how long it takes to do one of them. This is kind of cool. Once you kind of get the feel of it, I feel like it's going to be easy. I felt it just, I could watch the wheel slide up as I rotated the other side. So, you know, it was much smoother to do the second skate, and now I will skate them. Okay, all right, you guys. Things just got crazy, and of course they did. This is a slalom rocker, and I have not skated a slalom rocker in a while. Maybe ever. No, I skated one once. But what I have done a lot of is custom configured the rockering of my 5 and 6 wheel frames, mostly my 6 wheel frames, to give them this much rocker. Okay. This is, I mean, you might have guessed it, this is a whole different beast. These are crazy amounts of swivelly, and I would say all the stability that I had a minute ago is just gone. I have crazy amounts of agility, I guess. That's what we're talking about. And in the spirit of slalom / dance, I got the headphones in. Sade. I almost feel like 3 turns aren't even an enjoyable thing to do in this setup. The 3 turn doesn't have, like, I just tried to do a back clothesline right there. Here's like a front, I think they just spin. Yeah, I'm only really riding on 2 wheels instead of when it's in a balance rocker setup. I do feel like I engage all the wheels the whole time. So now what I get to figure out is what sort of moves do these like to do, and that would be very small space movements. Gosh, like the circle that I could carve would be like almost like right around a cone or something. Okay. My concern / curiosity with this setup is also how the wheel wear will be affected. Like, do wheels wear out a different way when they're in the balanced versus slalom rocker position? Whew. Getting a little winded here. I'm assuming, okay, starting to get the feel of them. They just flip around like so easily. I'm assuming in this slalom rocker mode, I'm gonna wear out the wheels on the ends a little faster, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So as I switch back and forth, if I've used the slalom rocker for a while, will the balance rocker feel kind of funky? Or if vice versa. If I use balance rocker for a while, does the slalom rocker get smaller, bigger? So let me know your guesses. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to tell, but this is certainly an epic level of rocker. And it's time to crank up this music, I think, and just boogie. I had to do it. Came over to the skate park and I skated with the slalom rocker because that's what I was just on, and it was a little spicy to get over here. Like, I can dance and stuff while skating, but not above like 15 miles an hour. Just gets sketchy. So I ended up doing a few swivels here at the park because I was like, oh, I could take advantage of the slalom rocker, but then riding ramps felt squirrely, kind of. The skates were dancing around, so I switched it back to, well, you can't tell, but I switched it back to the balance rocker and got a few laps in, and it felt really good. These ultra style frames with the rib, the bridges, all the features, they are great in the skate park because you just transfer all your energy. I'm hitting shit that I hit on big wheels, and it feels really good. So yeah, I guess I might as well get a few clips of flowing around in the balance rocker mode, show you how that feels. Back from skating, and I guess I just had a couple of reflections. One, slalom rocker is a highly specialized tool. I understand why you'd want that, and I understand when I'm gonna want that, which is, you know, certain situations, small areas. You know, I wanna dance, I wanna swivel like crazy. Maybe I'm teaching people some tricks and showing them that, or learning tricks from people, of course. But I gotta say, I prefer the balanced rocker feel of it. It's just, it feels natural, it feels like home. The wheelbase feels good and manageable. And I guess what I'm getting at is that I think I'm gonna be using this frame more than the 90 LR, mostly because of the construction of the frame. And as well the compactness that I feel. On the 90s with the Doops, sometimes they kind of dominate the experience, and in this configuration I feel like the skate disappears a little bit more. It feels like a 4x80, but, you know, grown up, let's say, like evolved, and there is something very intuitive and instinctual about skating it. So I'm excited, and I think for anyone, really any size foot, I wear a size 44, that's like a 10.5, 11.5 inch shoes. For anyone with really any size foot like this that prefers a smaller kind of snappy frame, if you have Trinity and you can't get like the Ultra 80 from Endless, I would recommend this. Like, it's so compact and so stout. I mean, it's a really good feeling, and especially if you had a more powerful boot like a Hardcore Evo, or really any number of boots. every boot is more powerful than this one. I think you'd really enjoy it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep skating these. I'm gonna skate these on the group skate this week and for the foreseeable future. And it'll be nice to switch back to the 90s every once in a while when I want that little extra burst of speed. Or if I ever want to do 3x100, I can use those frames for that. So anyway, I'm excited. That's a wrap on this one, and I hope you enjoyed the myriad ways that I use the frame and talked about it. You know, do the thing. Like the video, subscribe if you want. Leave a comment. I'm happy to answer questions. I try to answer every comment that gets posted, and these are kind of a frame that's not been talked about too much yet, so I'm hoping that this sheds some light. And the last piece I'll mention is that I have an affiliate link with Endless. I am affiliated with them. I got the frame for free. I try to be unbiased, but obviously I have a bias. And but if you do end up buying this, you can click the link in my profile on YouTube here, somewhere, wherever the link is, and get yourself a set, and it gives me a little kickback. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.